Big update. Events are moving fast, and what we're watching right now has the potential to reshape the global economy. Donald Trump has been pressing hard, trying to corner China and India into breaking ties with Russia. But both countries have sent a clear response. They won't bend to Washington's demands. China, in particular, has made it obvious that it will not abandon Moscow simply because the United States insists. That alone strikes a heavy blow to America's strategy. And this is only part of the story. For years, the idea of de-dollarization, the gradual shift away from the US dollar, was talked about but rarely acted upon in full. The BRICS nations never moved as one. Some worried about provoking Washington, and India in particular hesitated, keeping the dollar at the center of its trade. That hesitation has ended. Faced with punishing tariffs and relentless pressure from Trump, New Delhi has realized that the partnership it relied on with the US no longer offers stability. Instead, India is reopening channels with China, and in doing so, it has tipped the balance inside BRICS. For the first time, the group is aligned. China, India, Russia, Brazil, and more than 20 nations across the global south are now pushing the same agenda, to reduce dependence on the dollar and carve out a new financial order. Meanwhile, even close allies like Canada are beginning to feel the consequences of putting too much faith in Washington. Canada's Prime Minister is now seeing the cost of leaning on a partner whose policies have turned unpredictable. This isn't just a headline. It's a shift in the foundations of global power. The dollar's dominance is under strain, and the countries challenging it are gaining momentum with each passing day. So stay with me, because we're about to break down how this new unity within BRICS is changing the rules of the game, what it means for global power dynamics, and why the United States may find itself unable to stop what comes next. What we're seeing unfold isn't a carefully written strategy. It's a chain reaction. The United States under Trump has reached for tariffs as its go-to weapon. But instead of targeted pressure, the impact has spread like fire through the entire building. When Washington doubled duties on Indian goods, raising them to as high as 50%, it was presented as leverage to push New Delhi into cutting back on cheap Russian oil. In practice, it did the opposite. The move rattled markets, triggered a sharp slide in India's currency, and forced policymakers into a scramble for alternatives. Why does this matter? Because when a currency falls during a trade war, the cost of imports rises, company profits shrink, and investors quickly pull back. In India's case, sentiment has already turned negative, with traders betting against the rupee as tariff threats escalated. These are the kinds of early tremors that often lead to capital outflows and a slowdown in new investment. Instead of drawing India closer to Washington, the pressure is pushing it to explore non-dollar channels and to lean on suppliers that can step in fast. And at the top of that list sits China, precisely the opposite outcome of what the US wanted. Take a step back and the pattern becomes even clearer. Since 2020, global trust in the dollar system has been shaken, first by asset freezes and sweeping sanctions, and now by tariffs rolled out against multiple partners at once. When you target an economy that anchors Asia's supply chains, the effects ripple outward. You don't just influence policy decisions, you change the roots of trade itself. For India, survival in the short term means keeping energy flowing and cutting costs, even if that requires paying in currencies other than the dollar. That realization has hit the Indian leadership hard. After watching Washington act with little concern for Delhi's economy, the government has begun reducing its reliance on the dollar and looking for ways to strengthen the role of the rupee in cross-border trade. It's not just a tactical move. It's a shift that aligns neatly with the BRICS vision of building alternatives to the dollar system. And this is only the first phase. If the rupee remains under pressure while oil continues to flow east, the outcome is already visible. More deals settled in yuan, dirhams, and rupees, and fewer in dollars. Not because leaders are making speeches about de-dollarization, but because the economics leave them no other choice. When the balance of costs and benefits changes, behavior adjusts with it. The real question for Washington isn't whether it can apply pressure, it's whether that pressure is delivering results. At this point, the answer is clear. It's working, but not for the United States. You can't pressure India in isolation and expect nothing else to shift. Pressure creates. Pressure doesn't exist in isolation. It creates corridors, and in this case, the path leads straight to Beijing. India's trade with China is already unbalanced. In fiscal year 2024/25, the deficit climbed to around $99 billion. Imports of Chinese goods reached about $114 billion, while India's exports to China slipped. And the areas of dependence aren't minor. They're core building blocks of industry: electronics, batteries, chemicals, machinery, even pharmaceutical inputs. If India needs to cut costs quickly, the most affordable and accessible factory still lies across the border in China. Delhi has tried to reduce this reliance. Policymakers have pushed for domestic production and encouraged Western firms to diversify supply chains. Apple assembling iPhones in India is often used as an example. But supply chains aren't transformed by a single project. They are webs of components, tooling, and capital goods, and a large share still comes from China. Even in years when India trimmed overall imports, the flow from China kept rising. So when Washington raises tariffs on Indian goods while also threatening China, factories don't stop running, they adjust. They source more Chinese inputs, look for payment channels outside the dollar, and pass costs along the chain. That's how de-dollarization advances quietly in practice. Indian leaders see the trap. The government is offering incentives for domestic component manufacturing, especially in electronics. But plants like that need years of investment and expertise before they can deliver at scale. Until then, India's survival strategy is clear. Keep costs low by relying on the world's cheapest producer, and settle trade in whichever currency clears fastest and avoids sanctions. Beijing is more than willing to provide both the goods and the payment systems. This isn't about alliances. It's the logic of supply chains. And in that logic, the dollar loses ground step by step. India doesn't need to announce that it's abandoning the dollar. Its trade flows already show the shift. The more transactions completed with China under pressure, the stronger the case for local currencies or third-country settlements. Change doesn't arrive with declarations. It spreads through contracts, invoices, and payments that bypass the dollar. And here lies Washington's problem. If its policies push a key partner like India into heavier use of yuan-linked systems, what comes next? Do tariffs expand to everyone who adapts? Or does the US watch its own measures backfire? This takes us to the larger stage. Because behind these trade shifts stands the true focus of Trump's campaign: the fight over Russia and its energy exports. After Trump's 50% tariffs on Indian goods, New Delhi has begun scaling back its purchases of Russian oil. That might sound like a victory for Washington, but the picture changes quickly once China steps in. While India slows down, Beijing is moving in the opposite direction, buying more Russian crude than ever before and making it clear that the United States has no say in the matter. This isn't just about trade. It's about who holds real influence in the global economy. Chinese refiners have already locked in at least 15 shipments of Russian oil for delivery in October and November. These aren't small deals. They're large orders coming from ports that would typically serve India. In effect, China is taking the very barrels India leaves behind. The outcome is simple. Russia keeps selling, China secures cheap energy, and America's pressure campaign falls flat. For years, Washington has tried to strangle Moscow's economy by targeting its oil exports with sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Yet Beijing's buying spree has opened a clear escape route. By purchasing Russian crude in bulk, China is not only keeping Moscow afloat, it is strengthening it. Each shipment is a direct signal to Washington that its attempts at control no longer carry the weight they once did. The timing makes this even more striking. India's slowdown in Russian oil purchases should have been the evidence Trump needed to prove his tariffs were working. Instead, the barrels are simply redirected to China. Nothing is lost for Moscow. In fact, the outcome may be even better. China is a larger, steadier customer than India, giving Russia a stronger long-term partner. For the United States, this is a dangerous reality. It highlights that its power to dictate terms is slipping. Threats no longer carry the same fear, and promises no longer inspire the same confidence. The partnership between Beijing and Moscow undercuts the very foundation of America's strength, the petrodollar system. If this cooperation deepens, Washington risks being excluded from some of the most important energy flows on the planet. And the ripple effects don't stop there. America's own allies are beginning to feel the consequences of these policies, with Canada standing out as the next cautionary tale. For decades, Canada leaned heavily on its neighbor to the south. Energy, metals, cars, lumber, most of it flowed straight into the United States. Pipelines, railways, and ports were all designed for quick delivery to American buyers. That model worked until tariffs, retaliation, and weakening demand turned it into a trap. By the second quarter of 2025, Canada's economy was already shrinking. GDP contracted by 1.6% on an annualized basis. This wasn't a mild slowdown. Household spending held up slightly, but business investment collapsed, and exports plunged in cars, machinery, and agriculture. When trade becomes a weapon, even close allies take the hit. For Canada, the danger of relying on one customer became impossible to ignore. Ottawa is now scrambling to diversify, redirecting fuel and goods to Asia and beyond. But infrastructure, ports, storage, and contracts takes years to build. Until then, weak growth and a shaky currency remain. There are signs of change. Alberta is working with Japanese refiners on a new facility to process heavy crude, while LNG Canada has begun shipping liquefied natural gas to Asia. Once fully operational, it could export up to 14 million tons annually, with expansion already planned. 2 more LNG projects, Cedar and Woodfibre, are also underway. Beyond energy, trade ties are widening. By mid-2025, exports to the U.S. had fallen to 68% of Canada's total, down from nearly 80% a few years earlier. Ottawa is pursuing deals across Asia through the CPTPP and its Indo-Pacific strategy, promoting critical minerals, hydrogen, and clean technology with Japan, India, and ASEAN nations. But diversification is uneven. Canada has clashed with China, imposing tariffs on electric vehicles and steel. Beijing struck back with duties on Canadian farm products. Meanwhile, tensions with Washington escalated. Trump raised tariffs up to 50%, Canada suspended some retaliatory measures, and later dropped its digital services tax to restart talks. The message is clear. Without alternative routes, markets, and currencies, you inherit the risks of others. Canada's pivot to Asia and its energy shift aren't anti-American. They're about survival. The longer tariffs remain Washington's main tool, the more permanent these adjustments become. And each step erodes the dollar's dominance a little further. Business leaders are already bracing for pain. The Canadian Federation of Independent Business warns of recession, pointing to supply chain disruptions and falling investment. Oxford Economics estimates 140,000 jobs could vanish by year's end, with unemployment rising to 7.6%. Exports to the U.S. have already dropped 27% since January, underlining just how exposed Canada has become. Decades of dependence have turned into liability. Canada is watching its old economy falter while struggling to build a new one. And this is the same reality now confronting India and every other U.S. ally caught in the tariff storm. To keep track of these seismic shifts in the world economy, make sure to subscribe. You won't want to miss what happens next.